2 years after the furnace encounter, the king Nimrod, while sleeping on his couch, on his throne, in his palace in Babel, fell asleep and dreamt that he was with his army, his full host, in a valley opposite the land where the furnace was built. And he looked up, and behold, a man in the appearance of Abraham coming out of the burning furnace with a sword in his hand, walking directly towards him. And when he was getting too close for comfort, the king, afraid, so scared, took to his heels with his men and all. They ran for their dear lives. And while running, he looked back and saw that the man had the egg in his hand and threw the egg to him, and the egg landed on his head. Immediately the egg burst open. It turned into a raging mighty river. And the river swallowed all his soldiers, all his hosts that were behind him. They all drowned in the river. And when he looked back, he saw only 3 men left with him. These 3 men were dressed in princely robe like kings. And while they were still running, he looked back again to see if any of the men that are drowned in the river would come out, because he was on the other side of the river. And then he saw the man. He saw the river turned again to an egg. And a young bird came out of the egg, flew towards him while he was running, trying to escape with the 3 men, the 3 kings, as they were in the dream, with him. And the bird flew on his head and plucked out one of his eyes. He was so scared, and he tried to escape with the 3 men. Immediately, he woke up. And that night, he couldn't sleep. He was on the couch till early hours of the morning. And in the morning, the king sent for all his wise men and magicians. They all came, and he narrated his dream to them. And one of his servants, one of the wise men named Anuki, got up and interpreted the king's dream. He told the king, he said, "Your dream is nothing but the evil of the son of Terah, Abraham. Abraham and his seed after him and all his household will one day in the future rise up in war against the king and his hosts. And they will defeat the king in the battle." He reminded the king, he said, "Remember the revelation revealed to you by your conjurers 52 years ago. Yes, that is still on. It is true what your conjurers told you then. Abraham remains a threat to you. Now, concerning the river and where your host drowned in the water, that means that in the battle that would ensue between you, your host, and Abraham and his household, the family of Abraham would defeat utterly and slew all your men in the battle. And concerning the bird that hatched out of the egg that was thrown at you, when it turned back from the river to egg again, that means a seed of Abraham, a descendant of Abraham, will eventually slay the king in the distant future. Concerning the three the three men dressed in princely robe like kings, there will be the only three that will escape with the king in the battle with Abraham's family. Now, therefore, I will advise the king that Abraham be killed at all costs. On no account should Abraham be left alive with his evil, else the king and his descendants will all die in the hands of Abraham and his descendants. And the king hearkened to what Anuki was telling him and agreed with him. And he sent 3 men to plot how they are going to get Abraham to him. But you see, while they were hatching this plot, Eliezer, who was one of the senior servants to the king Nimrod before he was given to Abraham, frequently visits the palace. So he was within earshot when these plans were being made on how to kill Abraham. They scheduled the 3rd day from the day they were discussing and asked the men to go bring Abraham on that 3rd day so that they would kill him, saying that if he could have escaped the fire, if his head is hit against the rock, he won't escape that. Eliezer ran quickly back home and told his master what was discussed in the palace. Told him that Anuki interpreted the king's dream and said, you and your descendants and your household will slay the king and his descendants and his entire host. Therefore, the only way to escape out of this is to leave this land immediately. And Abraham obeyed the ways of his servant Eliezer, took his wife, and escaped, and went back to the house of Noah and his son Shem, and lived there for about 1 month. Now, the king's servant reported back to him that they couldn't see that Abraham was not at home. He sent them to search every nook and cranny of that kingdom. They searched everywhere but could not find him, because Noah and his son Shem hid him in their house. When they searched and searched and searched for about 14 days, they didn't see him. The king called back his search team and was relaxed a little. So the search for Abraham was no longer on after 14 days. And at the end of about 1 month, the father Terah secretly visited him in Noah's house. And Abraham told him why have you come here? Were you not there when the king and his men planned to kill me? What have I done to the king that is plotting to kill me again? Were you not there? Couldn't you have intervened on behalf of your son? And the father told him, you know who the king is. No one can say otherwise when he has said something. So I couldn't have. And then Abraham said to his son and said to his father and said, look, I want to leave this land and go far away to the land of Canaan. Remember, Canaan, whose land Abraham was thinking of going, Canaan was the last son of Ham, remember? So, after the Terah was destroyed, they all scattered abroad, and the sons of Canaan built that city and named it after their father, Canaan. So Abraham told his father, I'll be journeying to the land of Canaan to escape the wrath of the king Nimrod, and I want you to come with me. Now, Terah is a prince, the highest prince of the land of the king Nimrod. Terah is rich, very wealthy. He has everything. And now his son is telling him to forsake everything and come with him. So that was not a thing he wanted to hear. But Abraham pressed on and said, look, don't think that you are highly favored by the king because he loves you. No. He's only doing it for his own selfish reasons. And when the time comes that he doesn't have the need for you again, he's going to slay you without looking back. I beg you, therefore, come with me now. Let's leave this land. Forsake everything you think you owe. Let's go so you serve God. For all these things are nothing but vanity. Abraham talked and talked and talked. And when Abraham stopped talking, Noah and his son Shem added their voice and told Terah to listen to the voice of his son, because the king Nimrod have no regard for anybody's life. If the time comes that he doesn't have the need for you anymore, he will not just demote you as his prince, but kill you and everything that belongs to you. So, after Noah and Shem talked with Terah, he listened to them and decided to live with Abraham. So he went back home, packed everything that belongs to him, took everyone in his compound, came back to Noah's house with them, and together with Abraham, Sarai, all their household, they journeyed out of Kasdim, and they went as far as Haran. Now, when they got to Haran, remember, this is Haran, the city his late son, built. Haran. When they got as far as Haran, they saw that it was a safe distance from the king, who by this time also was forgetting about the issue of Abraham, because he searched everywhere for him. He couldn't find him. So he was forgetting everything about Abraham. So when they got as far as Haran, they saw that the land was fruitful with a lot of pastures for their animals. So they decided to stay in Haran. So they stopped and built themselves houses in Haran. They lived there for a long time. Abraham actually stayed with the entire family there in Haran for 3 years. It was the 3rd year of Abraham living in Haran that God appeared to him the first time and told him to leave there and go to the land of Canaan. Thanks for listening to me. I hope you enjoy this. Look, there is a lot of revelations coming your way in these teachings. Okay? Now, the age at which Abraham left Haran for Canaan has been highly disputed amongst Bible scholars. So now we will reveal it in these teachings, okay? And I'll tell you why there is this argument. Some said Abraham was 75 when he left. Some are saying it was about 130. Okay, there's a lot of confusion. And we seek to expose the secret in teachings like this. So I'll advise you, stick with me. The best is yet to come. See you in the next class. Until then, keep having faith. God bless you.